All right, breaking news coming in right there. Chased and battered. China is blaming India. Chinese military peddles lies. Says India troops illegally crossed the disputed border. China's military said on Tuesday that Indian soldiers illegally crossed disputed border into the Himalayas and obstructed Chinese troops that triggered a fresh standoff last week. China peddling lies over the clash that took place in Tawang right there. We wouldn't say that we're surprised because they're known to peddle lies, they're known to not be trusted, and their claims are an absolute bluff. They're making an obstruction bluff after the humiliation that the Chinese side ended up facing in Tawang. China is currently blaming India, peddling these lies, playing the victim card over the Tawang clash. They know they are humiliated. They know that they are battered. They know that they could not really achieve the needful. So they are now going ahead and peddling lies, saying that it was the Indian troops that illegally crossed the disputed border. The Chinese military has said on Tuesday that it was Indian soldiers illegally crossing disputed border into the Himalayas and obstructing the Chinese troops. And they're saying that is what triggered a fresh standoff last week. Abhishek Bhalla now joins us for the very latest. Abhishek, I wouldn't say that any of us are very surprised at this particular reaction that is coming in from the Chinese military. Of course, they're known to not be trusted. They're known to peddle lies and always play victim card. And this time around too, their reaction seems no different.
Yeah, this was unexpected lines, Chaiti, and the fact that this is a reaction to the Indian response. Earlier today, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh made a statement in both houses of Parliament where he categorically stated that there was an attempt to change status quo by the Chinese PLA, and this was in reference to their attempts to take over an Indian position. So this is a big attempt at changing status quo, and this is exactly what led to the scuffle and the ugly clash. Now this place, Yangtse, has seen similar face-offs in the past. It's a place which is disputed, and very often the Chinese troops come to areas which are held by the Indian side and they are stopped. But in this case, things got out of hand because it was a fairly large number of Chinese troops, and they also resorted to stone pelting. And as a result of that, this clash took place. So clearly, China's reaction is in response to the Indian claims, and this is on expected lines. There's nothing that's out of the script, if one can say so.
Absolutely. Do we have a response on this particular reaction from the Indian side as well? Because obviously they're peddling all these lies. So do we have a response on this at the moment?
Well, India has made its stand clear. There was an army statement late last evening which said that there were injuries on both sides because of a clash. And today the defense minister made it very clear that it was nothing but an attempt to change status quo and to hold on to territories that are held by India.
No, because China's military going on to lie and saying that Indian soldiers illegally crossed the disputed border in the Himalayas. On that front, what has the defense minister said?
Well, there's no response from the defense ministry on what China has said now, but there's no change in India's stand. India has made it very clear as to what the sequence of events was, and this has been a pattern. China plays the victim most often, and that's been happening since 1962. It's not something that they have started doing now. In fact, the 1962 war was a result of China playing victim, whereas they were the ones who were being aggressive. And since 2020, in Ladakh, a similar trend has been noticed. The Chinese had amassed in huge numbers, big deployment, big mobilization close to the LAC in guise of a military exercise. And even here in the eastern sector, alarm bells had been ringing for the last 1 year the Indian Army had been noticing a lot of changes in their patrols, aggressive maneuvers, enhancement of their military infrastructure. So this was on the cards, and because there was prior intelligence and because there's a huge thrust by the Indian side on enhancing its surveillance capabilities, that was the reason this attempt by the Chinese to take over an important mountain peak was in fact thwarted by the Indian Army.
And you know, since China has been peddling these lies, and this is the narrative that they want the rest of the world to read as well, we have the exclusive details of what actually ended up happening right there as well. So if you could also get us that exclusive scoop that no other channel really has.
Well, Chaiti, there was a build-up for the last 15 to 20 days. That's when the two sides had been, had been facing off, if one can say, regularly, but there was no clash. And there was a dialogue between the local commanders. The Indian side was hopeful that things will be resolved and it will be back to normal. But that wasn't the case, because the Chinese had brought in enhanced deployment. And there was also a new Indian battalion that had just been stationed in one of the forward locations. So in trying to surprise the Indian battalion and in trying to intimidate them, the Chinese had been making these incursions, had been making things a little uncomfortable, trying to intimidate them. And there were about 300 Chinese PLA soldiers who were trying to make incursions from different places in this area at Yangtse. And finally, when there was no going back over the last 15 days, there was this intense clash between the two sides when the Chinese resorted to heavy stone pelting.
Absolutely. Geeta Mohan, our Foreign Affairs editor, is also joining us. Geeta, what are you picking up from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well? Mr. Jaishankar's stance as far as the state of the border is concerned, of the line of actual control, any kind of talks? I mean, I know they're passé now because we've had many rounds of talks, but any kind of talks planned on the anvil?
Well, this is the flag-level meeting took place between India and China immediately after the clashes. So, at a military level, Chaiti, we have seen engagement between the two sides. But more importantly over here, after Dr. Jaishankar had spoken on 7th of December, we're seeing clashes on the 9th of December. The Home Minister and the Defense Minister have spoken. But what's important, Chaiti, over here is the Chinese reaction. Now, China, like in the past, has come out with its own explanation and its own reasoning, saying and claiming, alleging that that Indian troops transgressed. The fact of the matter is that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part.
All right.